What's up guys, welcome to G Whiskey. My name's Jeff. Now this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, why don't we jump into our review. Today we're going to be looking at Aberlour Aberlour. Stick around. So Aberlour's probably one of Speyside's most famous distilleries. They're really well known for their sherried expressions. They have quite a few of them. Almost everything they put out is going to have at least a little bit of sherry in it. Quite a big core range from them. I haven't tried them all, but they tend to be hit or miss. I think the two biggest standouts from that core range are going to be either the 12-year-old or this one right here, the Aberlour. Now this one is going to be their cask strength expression, so we can expect a lot of bigger, bolder, denser flavors from this one. So if you know anything about Aberlour, you know that it's a no age stated whiskey and that it comes in batches. Now the batch we've got here today is batch number 67. So they've put out a lot. They've been doing it for a really long time. I remember maybe 10 years ago, around the time that I was getting started into whiskey, I was drinking stuff in maybe the late 30s, early 40s, I want to say. So they were already at it for a while when I got started. I remember the first bottle I ever bought of Aberlour was batch 42, and I checked, apparently that came out in 2012. So it's something that they've been doing for a long time. It's something that I've been drinking for a long time, and it's still something that I enjoy today. Now, as I mentioned, this is a cask strength, no age stated expression. It's a really big, bold, strong, powerful whiskey, so it makes it kind of a standout among Speysiders. Speyside whiskey is known for being kind of calm, very polite, very fruity whiskeys for the most part. And when you have something like this, it's almost like an attack dog. It's an attack whiskey. Really big, bit of bite to it, but powerful, powerful stuff. It's what we would call a sherry bomb. And sherry bombs have always been up my alley. I like strong, powerful sherry flavors. The higher the ABV, the better. I want to get punched in the face with some sherry. This has always been a pretty good go-to for that. I think it's one of the better sherry bombs. Some other examples of maybe affordable, accessible sherry bombs would be stuff like Glenfarclas 105. You also have the Glendronach cask strengths, although those have gone downhill. Maybe some Glengoynes. There's a few out there, but those are probably the most widely available, well-known ones. And of those, I would pick this one. This one's always been the better one, and it still is today. Now, circling back to the brand, Aberlour made a few changes last year in 2020. They brought out some new labels, and basically their whole core range got a fresh new look. Beyond that, towards the end of the year, they brought out a 14-year-old, and that was added to their core range. So that joins the 12, the 16, the 18, the Cask Anam, and our Abundant here. So yeah, why don't we take a look at our Abundant, and you can kindly leave a like down below. Now, our Abundant is of course a cask strength expression, and our batch 67 here comes in at 59.8%. So it's basically a 60% whiskey. Definitely not kidding around. Beyond that, it is not chill filtered, and it is naturally colored, so all good. Now I'll give you a look at the color here. That is a natural color, which we like. And for the bottle itself, I really like these new Aberlour bottles. I think they're sharp. They're a little bit simple, a little bit retro. They're going for kind of like a craft look here. They've got like seemingly handwritten notes down here, but good info. It tells you the kind of casks they're using. It says non-chill filtered, batch number, ABV, all the stuff you need to know. So for presentation, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. I think it's simple. I think it's unique. It's nothing too over the top. I like the embossed logo here, kind of like that fake torn craft label at the bottom. I think it's kind of neat. So overall, it's a good look. Stands out on the bar shelf. Looks great there. All right, let's check out our nose. Big. So as expected, we have a lot of big sherry in here. Baking spices, cinnamon, oranges, lots of oranges, butterscotch, raisins, and a bit of wintergreen in there too. Overall, very full, very rounded, very rich. When you first pour it, you might notice a bit of a bite. I would suggest leaving it out for a few minutes, letting that calm down. Let's try our palate here. Okay, so of course, big sherry, more oranges, more baking spices, more cinnamon. You do have kind of like this bitter counterbalance to that sherry sweetness. So something along the lines of maybe bitter herbs, touch of coffee. Also got raisins in here, red fruits, red berries, maybe even a little bit of maybe raspberries or something. Fruity, full, rich. It will have a bit of a bite, like I said, right after you pour it. If you let it sit for a little while, that will calm down. This, right now, very rounded, very smooth for something that's basically 60%. And now for the finish. Okay, yeah. Of course, still big sherry. It's a continuation of what we had on the palate. More of those red berries, more of those baking spices, that cinnamon. You also have maybe some red apples in here, some ginger. It does get a little bit spicier, so some black pepper, some baking spices, some wood spice in there too. Really big, really long, and very densely flavored. Now, it goes without saying that this is a pretty big whiskey. It does deliver on its promise of being a sherried bomb. Of course, with an ABV of close to 60%, our flavors here are packing a lot of punch. And it is a no age stated expression. You can tell that it's not a particularly old whiskey, but luckily it doesn't come off too young or too undercooked. Now, it's been kind of interesting watching this whiskey evolve over the last 10 years. It has changed a lot, and I don't mean it's changed between batches and we're picking apart little nuances here and there. I mean the general flavor profile has drifted from where it was 10 years ago. Obviously, I haven't had all the batches, but I have revisited several times over the years, and I do notice a bit of a trend here. I think the modern bottlings, if I'm being honest, aren't quite as good as they used to be. I feel like older A'bunadhs were a little bit denser, darker, richer, slightly more complex than what you're getting today. Now, I don't want to come off like a whiskey curmudgeon saying everything was better back in the day. I do feel like that applies to the A'bunadh, but that being said, I still do like it today. I think it's a banger of a whiskey. It's a great sherry bomb. I like the kind of bitter counterbalance and those coffee and bitter herb flavors you get in this. And overall, it just comes together very nicely still, and it's still a great whiskey. Now, I have had quite a few of the recent batches of A'bunadh. Some have been slightly better than this one, some have been slightly worse. I think the 67 is a good representation of sort of like the average level of quality that you can expect from modern A'bunadh. And it is a good one, so for score, I'm going to give it an 86. I think if traditionally you've liked A'bunadh, you're still going to like it now. It's still delicious whiskey. For me, it's a viscerally pleasing whiskey. It's big, it's bold, it's fun. Now, this is a tough one to assess in terms of value because it seems like the prices are all over the place. I think that depends on where you are internationally. Here in Taiwan, we usually have pretty good prices. What I'll do is I'll check places like Master of Malt just to get an idea of what the going international rate for a bottle is. Usually it's a little bit higher, but for this bottle here, dramatically higher. I paid maybe 60 to 70% of what they're asking for on Master of Malt. So of course, at the price I paid for it, I'm happy to recommend it. I think it's great bang for buck, good value. If I was paying Master of Malt prices, it might be a whiskey I come back to once in a blue moon, but I certainly wouldn't be checking out the differences between each batch. Not that I'm doing that now anyway, but yeah, I think there's better places to spend your money in that price range. But that's just me. If you like A'bunadh, if you like checking out the differences between batches, and if it's something you want to come back to very often, by all means, pull the trigger. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. Now, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried A'bunadh batch 67? Have you tried any other recent batches? What were your thoughts? And finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next. I'll keep it in mind for my next video. Bye, guys.